Epic Universe won't just leave a lasting impact on the immediate return on Universal Orlando Resort, but rather a lasting ripple effect that will spread beyond it as well, now affecting some of its international parks as well, like Universal Studios Japan, as they will be closing their Sesame Street land as Universal Creative continues to grow, evolve, and develop their existing lands and resorts around the world. Not every licensing deal, though, goes this straightforward in closing land when you want to, as Sesame Street is now suing SeaWorld and United Parks Entertainment to end their partnership with Sea Resort. In this fourth episode of the Park Mind podcast, starting things off here with Universal's Epic Universe, its ripple effect is seen in a variety of different ways, as outside of the fully immersive lands that Universal Creative delivered on, they also improved them in several other ways as well that could be easily rolled out into their other parks and resorts, something that we are starting to see the initial impacts of, with one of the most noticeable ones being a drastic increase in the quality of the food at the resort, being fantastic food that you would want to find at a restaurant outside of a theme park, nonetheless impressed that it is inside of a theme park. And this is something that we started to see the early tricklings of, with items like Minion Cafe and other restaurants slowly popping up around the resort. And at Epic Universe, they truly delivered, not only providing several unique and immersive dining experiences, but also delivering fantastic and themed food around those offerings and attractions within those different lands. Likewise, this strategy is being rolled out across other areas of their Universal Orlando lineup and slowly across their other resorts around the world, with some recent additions like the Circus McGurkus Cafe, as well as several different restaurants around the resort receiving a massive overhaul to drastically improve not just the quality, taste, but also how it seemed and fits into the land to really make it a unique offering that fits perfectly into the land and makes you want to order it there to stay within the immersion. A land can't sell food though, if there's no one inside of it to sell it to, and thankfully Universal did take this into account with Epic Universe. As well, they knew there would be people coming to the park, they made sure that each land inside of that park was designed in a way to provide a variety of different offerings, as well as overall immersion to help make it a perfect land for everyone in the family, with some great instances of this being Super Nintendo World and How to Train Your Dragon's Isle of Berk. Here at Isle of Berk specifically, guests immerse themselves into an overall beautiful land in which they can walk around and enjoy. In addition to this, guests of the franchise don't necessarily need to know about the franchise to enjoy it, as each of the lands within Epic Universe outside of this one and including it also offer a general theme for guests to enjoy, with Isle of Berk offering that more Viking and adventure-like vibe. And when it comes to the attractions within the land, guests will find something for everyone to enjoy, whether it be fantastic meet and greet environments that everyone can enjoy, playground for little kid, flat rides for those younger to older demographics, as well as a fantastic show and family roller coaster. This differs greatly from some of Universal's older takes on lands, which more focus specifically on that target demographic, not really considering other members of the family. For instance, one such example, which is now announced to be closing, despite still being popular, was Sesame Street Fan World over at Universal Studios Japan. In this land, while fun and nice for some of the kids and parents to relax, was more generic Sesame Street theming, was built around more basic flat rides and overall atmosphere for just the kids to enjoy and didn't really consider those in the older demographics. This land in particular is also extremely interesting for other reasons as well, as not only was it a licensed property, but it also consists of a vast amount of land that was greatly underutilized when you consider the overall scope of Universal Studios Japan and their desire for more capacity to it. As well, they can't really expand outside of the park in their existing boundaries. What they can do is maximize what they do already have. And with this land, it was a whopping 167,000 square feet or 15,500 square meters. And furthermore, this massive land was not only done in a way in which it fit into the existing fan world portion of Universal Studios Japan, but now could be connected to some of the other parts of the resort if they do choose, as it could be connected to Hogsmeade via a walking path or the Hogwarts Express, the Hollywood section of the land, or even a whole new experience not tied to the existing theme park, but rather its own standalone experience like Horror Unleashed or a water park. Although ultimately, while I think Universal Studios Japan does have the need to support for a new standalone experience, they will opt to keep it tied in with the existing theme park to help further increase the overall capacity of this already popular theme park. And ultimately, this popularity here is one of the main driving factors, as while Universal Creative is developing fantastic, fully immersive lands and drastic improvements to the park, it is through these areas and other ones like Epic Universe, in which Universal Creative is able to see a massive return on investment. As if it were not foreseeing this return on investment, I don't think Universal Creative would be as willing, or even if they were allowed, to invest in such offerings. And one of these strategies that they use here is designing the land to not only be designed to spend your money some more with those themed offerings, as well as different ones to further cash in on the individual lands like unique merchandise items or experiences within them like the power-up bands, wands, or other ones that don't require more interactive offerings like smaller simple stuff like a dragon adopting ceremony of a small stuffed toy over at Isle of Berk, but also designed in a way which you don't need to purchase those additional add-ons, but the parks are being reinvented to offer those add-on experiences if a guest does choose to do so to further increase the profitability of that customer. As for the leading rumor to what could replace this land at the resort, the leading one is a Pokemon-based area, as well as it is highly rumored and likely that Pokemon will still be coming to the New York section of the park, with that area over at Universal Studios Japan seeing a massive overhaul and announcement that Pokemon is coming to it. Pokemon is one of those properties that is interesting, as it can appeal to both an older and also a younger demographic of guests. In addition to it's big enough, especially in Japan, where it could host two different areas inside of the same park, while also designing them in a way to help cater to everyone, but specifically focus on different demographics in those different areas. Furthermore, whatever does end up coming to this land over at Universal Studios Japan is another sign of how they view those license deals and characters inside of their park, as well as Sesame Street is so popular in both the US and especially over in Japan. It was also a property that was licensed, and whether Universal would want to continue building a licensed property as a replacement or utilize some of their existing intellectual property that would not require it. What is interesting though is that Sesame Street is no longer deemed popular enough to have it and pay for that licensing deal over at their Japan park. An interesting side of things to come as Universal continues to shake up its lineup, opting for newer, more innovative intellectual properties that continue to have a massive fan base. As while Sesame Street is massive, it is more of that younger demographic, whereas other ones like Pokemon and Super Nintendo World opt for a great mixture between the two, providing great fandom while also having those heavy adult fans as well, which bring in a lot of money. With other companies like LEGO now shifting their mindset, as well they do so include those offerings for those younger demographics of kids, they have a heavy focus on ways in which they can drastically increase the profitability of their products and cater to those adult fans of a fandom. Speaking of these fandoms, whether they be licensed character properties or their own properties, Universal does show a heavy desire to further increase the marketability and profitability of them, as not only are newer lands designed around these heavy fandom properties, but they have their own spin-off event now over at Universal Studios Hollywood, which will likely be slowly rolled out to the other resorts around the world like Halloween Horror Nights did, in which these events now cater towards those different areas of a fandom, whether it be anime, Dungeons & Dragons, Back to the Future, and more. Licensed characters like this are a great way to bring an established and recognizable brand to a theme park to allow for fantastic growth for both parties and continue to operate in new markets as well. Unfortunately though, not every licensing agreement is smooth sailing, as Sesame Workshop is suing United Parks and Entertainment, the owner of SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, to end their 45-year relationship. As in a statement, they said, While we did not want to end a partnership that has spanned 45 years, we have regrettably determined that the termination of our agreement is the only path forward, as Sesame Workshop said in a statement. As for some of these reasons, over the years there has been a drastic increase in problems and upkeep over at these Sesame areas in the parks. Parks that extend beyond just lands, but also have their own standalone theme parks based around the Sesame Street characters. And as a result of this poor management of their brand that unfortunately went sour, Sesame Workshop is suing to terminate this relationship, get those unpaid royalties and licensing fees, as well as additional money due to the damages caused to their brand and its reputation. Before breaking down what this could mean for United Parks and Entertainment if this relationship is terminated, which it likely will be, please consider hitting a like and or subscribe button, as it is a great way to help this channel grow and share it with more people. Outside of the financial impact, the Sesame Street lands over at United Parks and Entertainment are a great draw for guests and young families, and it is a shame, especially given how well executed this theming was, at least when it opened. As you'll see, there are several areas of the land that have been drastically underkept to the point where it's even looking scary, as some of these once lovable characters live in this current state, with some of the statues seeing areas like mold and overall decay on them. SeaWorld will lose a great draw for the park, as outside of these animals, Sesame Street was a great property that fit their demographic, while also providing a great way for families to go and experience those lands over other local areas. This is a pain that will be felt even farther as SeaWorld continues to try to differentiate themselves and separate from those older days of the Blackfish documentary and how they allegedly treated animals but left a scarring impact on the overall resort, and they continue to shift away from some of those animal exhibits to overall themed attractions based around those animals. And unfortunately, having a major loss of the Sesame Street land over at their park will continue to hurt this reputation of the United Parks brand, but also the draw of those parks. However, it's not just the loss and draw of SeaWorld Orlando, San Diego, and San Antonio, as well as Busch Gardens Tampa, but also will face major hurt when it comes to the Sesame Place theme parks, which are entire parks and lands based around the iconic children's series, but also will feature a major loss and draw in a format that will not only require major overhaul to the existing theming, but as well as could potentially bankrupt and force SeaWorld to close the parks of Sesame Place, with United Parks and Entertainment not just having one of these, but two, with these being both in Philadelphia and San Diego. And it could cause a detrimental effect to the overall impact and profitability, as well as costs to re-theme and potentially close these lands in their portfolio, as they cannot continue to exist if this existing partnership between the two parties does expire. And while the exact details here are unknown at this time, especially as this lawsuit is ongoing and these current accusations are still alleged, one idea to potentially save these lands could be United Parks and Entertainment able to sell them to another party if Sesame Workshop does approve of this, as there are several potential operators that would be willing to invest inside of it, with some great ones being Merlin Entertainment, the owner of Legoland and other theme parks, as well as NBC Universal, who also is about to debut their own kid-based theme park of their own, utilizing their own properties. And acquiring these theme parks would be a great way to not only add the Sesame Place areas and themings to their lineup, but also could be improved even farther as they also add some of their intellectual properties to the lineup to provide an interesting mix of their ground-up version of a Universal Kids Resort and how it could be adapted and modified to be built around an existing kid-based theme park. As for United Parks and Entertainment's opinion on the matter, they said in a statement, "We are aware of the lawsuit filed by Sesame Workshop and look forward to setting the record straight in court." While the end result of this lawsuit is unknown at this time, one thing that is certain is companies' desire to continue to operate their brands to new environments and markets, as well as expand upon their reach in different areas like the themed entertainment space, while also establishing and continuing that fantastic brand that they developed to provide that one fantastic experience for the guests to fall in love with.